Hello, 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 you guys. Welcome, welcome everybody in the chat, and welcome to Oh No Nora.
Hey,
What is up?
what's up, my friend? This is I'm much excited. Much excited to be here with you and to get to discuss all of the happenings and things. It's gonna be good times because we both sound amazing, and you, as usual, look fabulous. So yeah, guys, I'm just modeling more of my merch today. Okay, so please, I'm just pimping that out
What
shamelessly.
is the merch? It says
It
Jitsu.
says boob jitsu. This was her when Nance got taken in for her boob.
I met her. She was very nice.
Right,
She
she's
was
so
here.
nice.
She's so nice. I mean, shout out to all the protesters who are
Yes.
just the kindest of humans and the nicest of people.
100%. I've not encountered one person that isn't. They're just really, truly amazing human beings, and I appreciate them so much.
So for all of you guys that are getting annoyed at Nora right about now because her phone keeps ringing,
I'm
it-
sorry.
it's her daughter, and she cannot silence the phone.
Oh my God, guys, I'm trying in the background. My computer isn't letting me because she's my daughter, so I have her set so that she can always text me no matter what, because what if something really bad happened? Shouldn't matter what focus my phone is in. She should be able to text. And now she's just at school oh my God, my biology partner fell asleep. LOL, LOL, LOL. Oh my God, just do your schoolwork.
At least you're not cutting her communication.
No.
Shout out to you and all the other people that broke the generational curse and are out there being good parents.
Trying. It's a challenge today, Serge. I'll tell you that, man. Trying to keep up with these kids. But that is the other thing that I love about the protesters in general is that they are this young bunch of amazing people and some not so young out there just doing it and not letting Scientology get away with their shenanigans, which I think is amazing.
Yes. It's very amazing.
We need that help so much. And I love that is being done in real time, every day, essentially. And Scientology does not know what to do with this situation, guys, at all.
Right. Scientology doesn't know what to do with the truth, you guys. And that's basically what we are literally talking about in this live today. Which is appropriately being called a call for truth and accountability. My very last live that I ever did spoke about Child USA. So we reported what came up and was reported in the Philadelphia Inquirer about more victims coming forward, and Marcy Hamilton calling on the FBI, of all people, calling on the FBI to come and intervene because apparently more victims have come forward and not much more details were ever given about what in the hell Marcy Hamilton is talking about. So it's taken a lot to process a lot of the literal information and our own feelings from this betrayal. So in order to try and be coherent, I put together a little statement that I was going to read out, and I appreciate you guys showing up for us today and every day. And I'll just read the statement, and Nora, we can talk about it.
Go for it. It's amazing, guys. Listen up.
Recent revelations within our community have ignited a firestorm of emotions as many of us survivors have had to grapple with the painful reality of yet more betrayals. Many of us entrusted our stories to platforms like the Leah Remini The Aftermath Show and the referral to attorney Brian Kent and Child USA. Believing in the integrity of figures like Mike and Leah, yet we have been effectively met with relentless attacks, spread of misinformation, distractions, all in an apparent attempt to further cover up betrayals. The journey towards truth demands uncomfortable conversations. We refuse to shy away from confronting the stark truth. Our demands are simple, yet non-negotiable. 1, full transparency. No more hiding behind veils of secrecy. The truth must be laid bare for all to see. 2, full accountability. Those responsible for the atrocities, particularly involving underage kids inside Scientology hotels and commercial buildings, must be held to account and come forward. 3, full repudiation. As a collective of survivors, we denounce the heinous acts perpetrated against us as children, as fully endorsed by our very own Scientology parents. Moreover, we are sounding the alarm code red. Kids are still at risk as we speak. The facts are beyond abhorrent. The betrayal and cover-ups profound. Yet, in the face of such betrayal, where do we stand? Back to square one, forced into the role of advocates for all those kids currently still trapped within the confines of Scientology hotels and grotesque commercial buildings. Let us be clear, Scientology does not ensnare underage children without the consent and complicity of their Scientology parents. It is time to break the cycle of denial and projection. Mike Rinder, who was once trusted, now stands accused of betrayal. His actions reveal him not as a reformed ally, but as a predator in sheep's clothing. We have heard the voices of other survivors echoing our sentiments, confirming that Rinder remains a threat to our community. We refuse to be silenced. We refuse to be let our voices be drowned out by whitewashing and denials in what amounts to decades and decades of full-blown complicity in furtherance of writings of convicted felon L. Ron Hubbard. The truth must prevail no matter how uncomfortable or inconvenient it may be to every last one of our Scientology parents, the ones who brought us inside of the hotels, the ones who took it upon themselves to override our capacity to consent and placed us instead directly in harm's way. In the face of systemic institutionalized child trafficking at an industrial-sized scale, we cannot afford to remain silent. The time for action is now. We stand united, determined to expose the darkness and ensure that justice is served in the interest of immediately ceasing the highly illegal and toxic practice of any and all minors being exposed to audits, ethics handlings, and grooming courses, the 3 pillars of Scientology. Inside any of the Scientology hotels and commercial buildings worldwide.
I got something for you, Serge. All right. We need to all give Serge his flowers right now for that, because that, you know, we talked about your statement yesterday when you originally, you know, read it to me, and it is just as powerful hearing it the second time than when you told me yesterday. There's, you know, yeah. I mean, this is, you know, this is the age of accountability. I always liken my moods to like a Taylor Swift album, right? You know, like I think we were in Reputation for a bit. We were bringing out the snakes. We were calling, you know, and now we're moving into, you know, maybe a little more Tortured Poets situation, because like, you know, my favorite song on that album, which I'm gonna write to Taylor Swift like a fan letter and be like, can we please use this as an anthem for us born-ins? Like, who's afraid of little old me? That line in that song, you wouldn't last an hour inside the asylum where they made me, rings so true to our entire goal, which is to never have another kid go through what we went through as children. I didn't turn my light on, guys. So, you know, we have to, as much as we have shown, you've shown over and over, especially, and Aaron, you know, dropped his nuclear bomb a couple days ago. It's time for us to really band together, all of us, and turn the focus to exactly what you've been talking about for years, Serge, before you even came on YouTube, which is getting kids out of Scientology. In case you guys didn't know that, okay, in case you guys didn't know this about this beautiful, beautiful gentleman here, you know, Serge has been telling all of us in the ex-Scientology community that this is the I'm trying to think of a really good word, but it's the most important topic in what we should all be putting our focus around, is getting the kids out. And when people say all the time, oh, there's not any kids in Scientology, that's handled, they're not breeding anymore, Scientologists, or something ridiculous. There's plenty of people that both Serge and I know who we were in the Seerg with, who left because guess what, guys? They were pregnant and they were having kids. And where are those kids now? In those churches. Because they didn't learn. They're still traumatized. They're traumatized from their own, you know, growing up in it, and they're repeating the cycle, right? Because that's what happens with trauma. Is if you don't do the therapy and you don't heal from it, and address it and tackle it, you end up repeating this cycle of abuse over and over, and that's proven with science and, you know, all these other cases.
Call for self-awareness. It's a call for self-awareness, which is what you get out of therapy. And the self-awareness needs to be instilled in all the Scientology parents, because for decades they have been running around without any self-awareness.
Yeah.
You know, their minds have been hijacked. And again, by a voluntary motion of them endorsing said rhetoric. It didn't just happen to you.
Right.
You did it to yourself. You're an adult. You read a book. You practiced what the book said. Guess what? That means you did it.
Yeah.
Guess what? That means you didn't use critical thinking skills. Guess what? That means that L. Ron Hubbard convinced you that because he decided your critical thinking skills were not okay inside of these hotels and commercial buildings, whatever deal that was between the Scientology parents and L. Ron Hubbard, go double check on that deal. Go double check on that. Because you know what? We are calling for you to start looking after your best interests. Because guess what? L. Ron Hubbard doesn't have your best interest. L. Ron Hubbard doesn't have the best interest of your children. L. Ron Hubbard doesn't have the best interest of you.
No.
So it's time for y'all to wake the F up. For the good side or for the bad side, it doesn't matter. No. You are violating the law. You're committing aggravated child abuse at an industrial size scale. Every audit, every ethics handling, every course being done on a child is tantamount to aggravated child abuse, which is a serious felony. Look it up, Google it.
I want to just
it.
I want to comment on that because I am in active therapy, guys, and I have my standing appointment on Tuesdays to see my therapist, and I talked to her about, and I told you about this, but like, you know, in Scientology, you and I were both trained at some point to give confessionals to other people. And I did that on the RPF with, you know, my twin, and we were talking, you know, getting these sins from each other and all this kind of stuff. Now, I was trying to explain to my therapist, who is vaguely familiar with Scientology, because it's hard not to be in today's world, like what these confessionals and things were like, right? And so I, you know, I was explaining the process to her, but I also said, you know, you're confessing the stupid things in Scientology that are considered a crime. Like I said, as an example, masturbation is a huge crime in Scientology. Anytime a Sea Org member is messing up on posts, it's because they masturbated. Okay. Like, and it's so stupid. But when you take the crime of masturbation in a confessional, you don't just simply say, oh, I masturbated last Tuesday in the bathroom, and that's it. You have to describe in excruciating detail. Like I told my therapist, you have to imagine that you are describing this act to a blind person, right? Like you have to describe how everything felt, what you were touching, what you were thinking about while you were touching, like just every painstaking detail of the incident, right? Because otherwise you're not giving all of the overt, you're not giving all of the confession. And she looked me dead in the eye and said, that's sexual abuse. And I had never thought about just telling that out loud, like being made to tell those things, that was a form of sexual abuse to do that. And I was like, what? And then we talked about that some. And then I said, okay, well, it kind of gets worse, because then kids are trained to perform these confessionals and ask those questions of adults. And she like literally fell out of her chair. And she said, that's child sexual abuse. Like every time that happens, every time a child is made to pull someone's withhold of a sexual nature, which it happens every day, there's no session where that doesn't come up, that is child sexual abuse. And I'd never like, you know, like we're talking about this all the time, Serge, but I'd never like connected the dots in that way for myself as like it just hit me. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, it's so diabolical. It's so unbelievably bad because it's happening on both ends. You're forcing a child into this grotesque task of committing this abuse on themselves, right? And then the person confessing it is also, it's dual abuse. It's like dual abuse happening at the same time. Nobody's not being abused. And so it is just absolutely grotesque that now their strategy is to be like, well, we're conducting religious services, so we need quiet on the set. Okay, quiet on the set while we conduct religious services.
Bingo. I mean, quiet on the set.
Right, thank you.
It's a set, it's a role play. There's a script. You learned the script. You were groomed with a doll. You were brought, oh, here's with a doll. Oh, go watch the Mitch Brisker film that teaches everyone to really get familiar with all of this disgusting depravities with dolls.
Yeah. And you're right, because the training portion of it, actually, for some of these kids, let's be honest, takes a lot longer than the time they actually spend auditing, because things happen, they go on to other posts. But they spend years facing adults, facing other kids, learning these procedures, drilling it into their mind over and over and over in the most grotesque fashion. Like bull bait, is one of the training routines that you do so that you don't react in a session, right? Did people say things? They can move your chair. They can do all these things to try and get you to react. So you become you become a doll. You become unreacting, unfeeling, unflinching, right? But during that process of bull bait, and I'll admit freely that like during bull bait sessions, it became just a disgusting sex talk to see if you could get somebody to laugh or move or become uncomfortable or turn red with gross things that we would just like go worse and worse and worse. It's like the deeper you go into 4chan, it just gets like,
And this is all being done, just so you guys understand, is because they tell you, oh, you really have to be tough. Our standards are so high. So the reason they go so grotesque, the reason they go so complete and utterly deranged is because they're all literally circle jerking each other and saying, oh, we're so standard here. We're so tough. We're so, look, these children can be told anything and look, they don't react.
Well, and it's
like
children.
they weren't bettering our communication. That was a false pitch. The false pitch was like, oh, we're going to help you with your communication. You're not helping a child with communication when that child has to learn how to disassociate from being disgustingly abused. So yes, code red for, again, all Scientology parents that subjected your children to do those TRs. Because guess what, Scientology parents, y'all knew. So don't say that I didn't know. Nobody told me. You all did it. So stop saying that you didn't know what in the hell was done to children. You were all doing it. You were all participating in it. The courtrooms were filled with dozens and dozens and dozens of underage kids. That's what made us kids think it was okay. Because, well, I guess there's all these underage kids here and we're all just doing it. And all the adults says this is great and nobody raises a red flag.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to acknowledge Let's Go, who checked out of the chat here. This is, and I want to just say full disclosure, we didn't say this at the beginning, but this is a very highly triggering subject and conversation. We're going to be very frank about it. But I just, if it is triggering for you, I do appreciate you, like, doing all the things and being here and commenting. But if you need to check yourself mentally and you need to take care of yourself, please do that, because both Serge and I are huge advocates of mental health and of therapy and mindfulness. And, and you can tell by Serge's body, he's a yoga body by Serge. That's a new trademark from me. But, if you guys do need to take care of yourself, please, please, please do that, because it's paramount. That's why we do this advocacy work, because we went through it and we need to end the cycle. We need to end the cycle forever by having them shut down. Because it's one thing to be like, oh, okay, we're going to get David Miscavige, head on a pike, and he's going to go to jail, right? Kind of a scenario. But that doesn't actually end it, because there will be like 5 people waiting to be like, it's my turn to run the cult. Like the whole thing has to end. And the parents, like Serge is pointing out correctly, our parents, current parents, because people our age are parents now, guys. They need to be held accountable for what they are continuing in this child abuse cycle by putting their kids into Scientology schools, which is our recruitment pools for every level of Scientology, and for putting them into these course rooms in these hotels to indoctrinate them in this child abuse cult. And like the more that we can sound the alarm about that publicly everywhere, at every single one of these locations, it is a huge impact. Because I noticed, I'll just tell you the difference. Like I've protested 2 days now at Portland. I'm obviously, I haven't done my day this week. I will. But the first day I went out there, I drew in front of all the entrances, like just cult entrance. And I drew an arrow, and like nobody looked at it really. Like even passersby didn't see it. But the second I wrote child trafficking cult entrance, people like, first of all the Scientologists stopped to look at that, and they were mad. They were angry that I put that down there. Secondly, I had people stop on the street to be like, yeah, you tell it, right? And like they were taking pictures of the chalk art. Some lady took a selfie with me because she thought it was awesome that I was protesting. So when you're telling the truth about it, it's not extreme. It's not like hyperbole. It's not something that's just for clicks and all this other nonsense that we keep. The clap back is that we are making this up. It's not as bad as we're saying, and we should just stop, right? But I have all this stuff from the unboxing yesterday still. Like I have to clean that up still. But it's just it's so vital that with this one issue, okay, that is how it's going to get shut down, because there's no portion of America, no matter what side of, the red and blue and whatever that you stand on, that is for child abuse. I don't know anybody who's a Democrat, a Republican, an independent, a Green Party, whatever, that's like, oh yeah, that's cool. Let's amen to that. Like, nobody is standing for that. It's a universal cry for help, and we need to keep doing it. And Pippy Longstocking is spot on here. It is a cult of complete dehumanization process, and he did design it that way completely.
That's why it has to stop. That's why there's no reining it back. That's why there's no salvaging anything. There's nothing about this that's salvageable or beneficial to anybody.
No.
And going back to the point of right now, we need an army of child advocates. Because again, once those kids are not in harm's way, as they are on every single day, being audited, being sec checked, being ethics handled, being told to write OWs, being told to blur all the boundaries between them and the adults. We're calling for a complete ceasefire. Cease firing on the kids. Cease abusing the kids, adult Scientologist.
Yeah.
Stop being infantile. Stop pretending that L. Ron Hubbard told you it would be a great idea, and then you can go and do it without a shred of critical thinking skills. Yeah. It's not cute. It's not okay. And it's not going to change, because they're all about this power dynamic and balance. Yeah. They're seduced by it. They're doing it. They were not there for 30 years because they didn't like what in the hell they were getting access to. They were there because they liked it. And it's getting
let's face it, most of our parents have been doing this for 50 years, guys. 50 years of them supposedly going totally free. This is the goal that they had when they got in. I'm going to go totally free and I'm going to help all mankind. 50 years, they've been rolling this, stone up a hill, and they have nothing to show for it, number one, but also—
Well, I would argue that they do have something to show for it, Nora, because they have all the child enslavement to show for it. Right. And you're being shown it now. So if you didn't see it before, start seeing it. I mean, what is it going to take for you to see the obvious? What is it going to take for you to see the facts? Because that's where the accountability needs to take place. And it needs to take place so it doesn't happen to more kids. If it doesn't get repudiated, if it doesn't get called out, if it continues to be whitewashed and minimized, and all these adult problems being put as a priority, while just kids just get to rot and everybody just stands outside, well, the LAPD comes and arrests any child advocate that goes out there and says, please stop.
Yeah. No, the arrest situation is also concerning, put it that way, because it seems to only be escalating now with more nonsense and less nonsense, quote unquote, in the eyes of viewers from protesters. Do you know what I mean? Like, I know people were saying to me, oh, people shouldn't yell and they shouldn't do this and they shouldn't do that. First of all, protest is loud. Protest is everything. Protest is the gamut of
point, Nora. People that say don't yell, it's we'll invite you to become a child advocate. If you really want to sit outside with everything we're sharing, the triggering AF conversation that we're having here on how these audits were implemented.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that the protesters have shifted their—
dejected. Yeah. They're just dejected from— Hold on. Let's not talk over each other. Yeah. They're dejected from the fact that kids are exposed, that while people are outside these buildings, there's children being audited, there's children being handled in ethics, and there's children being put into grooming courses. Yeah. Those three things cannot be happening. And now, okay, fine. If we're saying that and we're calling that out, that's what we need to see, the accountability. Yeah. That's Scientology. Scientology is courses, ethics, and audits. That's it. There's nothing else to it. So let's not make it complicated, and let's act like there are kids inside, because guess what? There are kids inside. That's what we come and see every time we go outside these centers. And like you just saw, a friend of yours that now is a mom, and now she's putting her kids in there. And you know what? Yeah. They don't want to listen to us. They don't want to know anything we have to say. They already like, no, you're full of shit. Well, you know what? Yes, Odo didn't want to listen to Laura, although people saying, oh yeah, she's really planting seeds. Show me him walking out. He can start walking out right the F now, because they are being confronted with the facts that they are child traffickers. We put it in chalk. We're sending smoke signals, everything. But it's like, again, it's like the people that are there love the power dynamic and balance that is literally happening there. So stop pretending that they're not loving it when they're there doing it pro bono.
Yeah. No, they are. I agree with you. I mean, I'm always Pollyanna in this conversation, Serge, where, like maybe Odo listened to Laura for 2 seconds. Is he going to do anything? Probably not. Probably 100% not gonna, be like, oh, let me take this disgusting uniform off and get out of here. Like that would be amazing. But I highly doubtful, because we never saw, even in our time in the Sea Org, when we were at our most desperate and we were like, I'm done here. You never saw somebody do that. There's a lot of other things that happen and a lot of manhandling and other stuff. But one day, because of this work that we're doing, because of the work that all the protesters are doing, those buildings will be something else. They will not be Scientology anymore. They will be maybe an actual hospital again, or maybe a homeless shelter, or maybe an apartment building for people,
Well, it can be whatever it is, Nora, but the point is Odo again, he's in security.
Yeah.
What does security do all day, you guys? Security gets told who went out today. What does that mean? Who got raped? So Odo is there listening to that every single day. Every single day that happens inside of those blue buildings, he gets told. He's security. He gets told. He gets shown the KR. He gets shown the videotape. He gets shown the PC file. He gets shown all the ways these people write it down.
And I think part of the problem that people don't understand about security in the Sea Org and in Scientology, in everyday world, we walk into a mall, there's security. We walk into the bank, there's security, right? And we're just like, okay, this is a guy who did a 2-week course and now thinks he's tough. It's a different world in the Sea organization. Like I want to distinguish that, because I know like security guards as a whole get a bad rap as just being these guys with a power hungry badge complex or something. But in Scientology, in order for you to qualify, to be at that level of security, you have to be the absolute cleanest, most responsible, most ethical, most dogmatic of every single Sea Org member. Okay. So just picture, if you want to do an analogy, like
cleanness is
well, that's Scientology.
The same pitch. But again, Nora, you got to understand, you got to put it in the perspective of this is a human resources department,
right?
That takes it upon themselves to find out, the full sexual history of every security guard. Odo's security guard sexual history, he had to go and tell them every time he masturbated, every time he had anything to do with a girl. So he already had to show that he was willing to, give all of his personal info to this security people, right? So they're not clean, they're not this, they're not that. That was a false pitch that the executives were, pretending that, oh yeah, we really check the background of people. But imagine that these executives would find a background of self-admitted felons, and then they would still put them in front of children because, they handled that with an ethics cycle from L. Ron Hubbard. It all floated already. Aren't we so special inside these hotels or disgusting commercial buildings?
Yeah. Yeah. But these guys have absolute power to decide in an instant if you get to stay at your job or if you are shoveling poop and cleaning a dumpster with a toothbrush. And they will put you under 24-hour watch. And they don't have to go through, like channels. They can just be like, boop, and, do whatever they want. So it is absolutely.
There's a power dynamic and balance, but the most grotesque is that they're in the very direct line of finding out when felonies get committed inside of those commercial buildings. Correct. And then they do what? Become complicit is what in the hell is called OSA, for you idiots at OSA that write it down, that documented, that put it on video, that send it to a bunch of other executives. Everyone CC'd on this. Everyone find out about this. Let's all crisis manage together.
Yeah.
You know what? It wasn't a good idea. You were all acting in a conspiracy. That's called racketeering. That's called you're committing a felony. That's called you're documenting it. That's called you're full knowing. That's called you have no plausible deniability. We would know. We would know because you put us there on the front lines to do this disgusting shit as underage kids. Started at age 12, to be exact. OSA flag.
Yeah. I mean, in what you're talking about with the documentation, that's another form of abuse that occurs. Everything is documented, guys. Whether you're in a confessional or not, like Serge is mentioning security, they're recording everywhere. We've all pointed out their cameras and spoken to the cameras and everything. So all of that footage is recorded. Reports are written about people that they just see in the footage or anything they overhear. Those are made into reports. And like Serge is mentioning, like CCing everybody, like literally you make copies of your report and you send it to all of the relevant terminals between that person and as high as you want to go, right? So in some cases, if you saw something like totally nuts, like for example, with the commanding officer celebrity center, Dave Pettit, and you were going to write a report, you would write that probably all the way to David Miscavige, RTC, because you're like, this guy is out of control, right? So it's a snitch culture. And like, they tell you, oh, this is confidential. That's confidential. Nobody knows, you know, it was in your session. I'll give you a perfect example. When I got sent to the RPF, my assignment, because they put it on goldenrod, they give you like an official assignment. They announce it at staff muster. They hand it out to everybody. So you can see this list of crimes, especially when somebody goes to the RPF. My RPF assignment was one sentence. That sentence said, Nora went out to D with another Sea Org member. That's it. Then when I arrived to the RPF in charge, Alex, was a friend of mine. We knew each other growing up as, 10-year-old kids. And I said to him, I said, listen, I'm not going to come here and be the lesbian on the RPF. Like, I'm just not going to do that. Like, if everybody's going to treat me like that, then I'm not going to, why bother? Because there'll be no reforming. There'll be no change. Everybody will just be staring at me like I'm the gay, right? The whole time. He's like, oh, no. Nobody knows why you're here. It's totally confidential. It's just between us. And I know you're going to be, everything's going to be fine. Every time I showed any form of affection, smiled at, high-fived, made a joke to a female RPFer, report. My report file is bigger than my pre-clear files because, and then I would just spend hours in session talking about how, because I high-fived Susie, how I wanted to have sex with her and touch her boobs, and just weird stuff because that wasn't even what was happening. It was just like, hey, what's up? Like I'm a very effusive person. Serge knows that I'm a hugger, but it's like, it's just literally that everything you do is a crime. In Scientology. It's reported to everywhere. And so you cannot escape except for to become a shell of a human being. And that's what they're doing to the kids inside. There's no creativity. There's no expression. There's no individuality. There's no like, hey, you know what? I feel like jazzing it up today and wearing a skirt that's purple. Like, no, fuck you. You have a uniform. You're going to wear that and you're going to be this. And if you're not this, then you're other and you're disgust. And we're going to beat that out of you with Scientology, right? And that's what happens to kids from the moment they're born. And it comes in the house, it goes in the Sea Org, it goes everywhere. And so it is not just like, a nothing like, oh, these guys are having a religious service and we should respect them and we should like let them, do whatever. And somebody in the comments earlier put like no kids in any religion. And I agree with that. Like I've had open discussions with my kids about just religion in general. And we talk about current events and like, what's this and what's that? And we open up the religious scriptures of different religions and look at that.
Here's where I push back on that again. Scientology is a technology. Scientology is not
Right.
theology. So since Scientology is not theology, I don't know what happens when you have theology running your group. I only know how technology works because that's all we had.
Right.
You had to lock someone up against their will because the technology said to do that. There wasn't a religion. There wasn't a prayer. There wasn't a nothing. It was lock them up and pull their withholds.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just literally willy-nilly, like you said, just that child's doing out to the flows.
Right.
Lock her up and find out why a 14-year-old is, flirting with the 49-year-old that's at the HGC. Find out why she's doing that. Find out why she's incentivizing that. Oh, they went out to they all found out about it. They all wrote it down. They all put it on reports after reports after reports. CC this, CC that, CC the deputy security chief, CC the security chief FLV, CC OSA flag, CC WDC FLV, CC Mike Rinder, OSA CO, OSA WDC. Like, we were told to learn all these titles. We were told to learn all these role-playing titles from the clowns that posted themselves in those ridiculous posts that they really think that they really have, that they're doing pro bono. Oh, I'm the international security chief. You're an idiot. That's who the hell you are. A complete bamboozling idiot that did a 2-week course and then all of a sudden is now giving themselves the permission to know it all. Like, it's so ridiculous. And it's like, again, it's like the problem is the technology, what they're delivering, what they're telling kids to be, what they're ensnaring kids in. They're ensnaring them in these audits. Oh, we're going to really handle your communication. If you could talk to a pedophile, what would you talk about? Oh, yeah, we really want you to not have a button on speaking to nobody. So why would that be done inside of a hotel? Scientology parents.
Yeah.
Why were you also okay with that? Knowing that that's communication grade 0, knowing that all of you know what in the hell grade 0 handled, and all of you that put your children to be audited on that were very pressed to make sure that your children wouldn't have any buttons on speaking to pedophiles or rapists or any kind of disgusting thing. Like, oh yeah, just, confront it is what they would tell us. Oh, if that's a pedophile, who cares? You just confront it. You just confront it. Why not just confront it?
Yeah. I think, and I want to point out something that you said earlier, just now, actually. But when you were talking about, like, the 13-year-old and the 49-year-old, and why was she flirting? What would normally happen, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that the 49-year-old guy would go in session and have bad needle. It's called dirty needle in Scientology. And they would be like, what are you thinking about? What's happening? So he would confess to having sexual thoughts, because thoughts are a crime in Scientology, about said 13-year-old girl. And they would discuss it. They would pull this. They would get all the details of these thoughts. And
well, now, hold on. Let me correct you. It wouldn't allow you. No. I need to correct you.
Oh, go ahead.
It wouldn't allow you to pull a thought. If you pulled a thought, your head will be put on a pike because it's not a done. Yeah. It's not a done. No. It's not done. How was the sex worker?
Just mocking up
no, but you gotta get it done. So yes, you could have had some thoughts, but then you have to pull this string. Okay, well, what kind of thoughts? And well, did you ever do anything with those thoughts? And that's how I got into the things. It was the thought, and they were interested in the thought. But then it's like, well, did you do anything with the thought? And that's how it'll always end up with, like, well, yeah, I was jerking off to the thought.
Right. Exactly. And so, but then after they get this crime from this 49-year-old, they're going to then take the 13-year-old into ethics and find out what she did and why she's a slut and why she's tootie flowing all these older guys. Even if she was just standing there doing her job, like, let's say she was a waitress at the hotel, like, oh, sir, here's your drink. I got your drink for you. All right, have a great day. Just doing like normal shit, right? I mean, she's still a kid, but like, and then all she had to do was exist, but she has crimes. And then she's going to be put into like a super situation. So it's just never not child abuse. They never take these criminals, these pedos, and go like, you're disgust. We're calling the cops. Get to fucking jail. Get the fuck out of here. And then check in with the kid and be like, oh my God, are you okay? Did anything happen? Tell us what happened. But
there's no world. There's no incentive for that, Nora. Because again, they're monetizing
Yeah.
the situation on top of it. It's not even that they'll be like, oh, gross, get out of here.
Correct.
Oh, we're going to do a program. Don't you worry. Let's write you a program. Let's sell you, just call your Amex, $100,000 on your Amex is going to really clear you of all these things. And, the technology of L. Ron Hubbard is going to create miracles on you. So it's like, and then they're writing it off of their taxes. So again, it's like, in what world is a self-admitted felon that including but not limited to admitted to committing felonies against their child, then gets sold a way to launder it, to wash it away? The IRS endorses it. The IRS allows them, the self-admitted felon, to shave off $100,000 as if it's a very charitable donation. Oh my God, I really want to help charity, like self-charity, like you're helping yourself. Who the hell are you helping when you're a self-admitted felon, Scientology pedo parent?
Yeah.
Who the hell are you giving this charitable contribution? Because it sounds very self-charity. I pay for it. So now my buddies at the hotel are all implicated. They're all full knowing. They all laundered it for me. They told me I had a floating needle. They told me that I handled it, and now I'm great. It's like as if it didn't even happen. That's what we were supposed to think as children. That's why we were handled. Oh, are they handled? Because yes, after you were essayed by an adult, you were supposed to go in session, have a floating needle, and pretend it didn't happen. So by all means, Scientology parents that thought the technology of L. Ron Hubbard is wonderful, why in the hell were we supposed to forget after we got essayed? Because we got handled. Make that make sense right the F now.
Yeah. No, and this is the seriousness of what we're talking about. I just want to, there's some shenanigans happening in the chat here a little bit. So I just want to acknowledge again that if this is a triggering subject, if you are a survivor of any sort of SA, child abuse, physical abuse, even religious abuse of another cult, I just want to say to the chat out loud, like also to specifically Evil Blue Eye, like I get that your story is different because it wasn't Scientology, but I do acknowledge what you went through, and let's not like focus in on each other in the chat here a little bit. This is not a trauma Olympics or anything like that. But all these stories are valid, and that's why some people, that are out there protesting, have taken up the banner of protesting against Scientology. Because it is a group that can be brought down, right? Because it's not as big as Christianity on this planet. It's not as big as Catholicism. It's not as big as Judaism or the Muslim religion or, the Sikh religion even, or anything like. There's more Jedis in England than there are Scientologists, guys. So it's not the fastest growing religion on the planet. And we all have a chance to contribute, as we would say in the objectives, contribute to the motion of bringing down this diabolical, grotesque cult. And it's really, really, really important that we focus in on that. Like that's the point of today's talk. And the point, if you didn't see the very beginning, like you're just jumping in, please go back to the beginning and listen to Serge's statement. Because now we're just talking about like nitty gritty, guys, things, and why, like getting into specifics of like why this is important, because I get asked that a lot, in my email and other things, like why bother? Why not just, get your therapy, Nora, and move on with your life and like have a happy life with your wife and kids? First of all, I have a very happy life with my wife and kids. I just want to make that statement as if it needed to be made publicly, but that's going great, guys. But what keeps me focused on this and gives me hope and like an urgency at the same time is that for the first time in my life, okay, which is almost 48 years coming up here, there is a group of people that actually care about my own personal destiny, my well-being, but also care about the kids that are inside there. When Serge and I were in there as kids, getting indoctrinated as children, nobody was standing outside worldwide saying, hey, this isn't right. Like, you should be in school. you should be running around and getting, bruises and like learning how to climb a tree and like, playing sports and, just like advocating and caring about it. It was people were like, well, so sorry for that kid. They're in a cult, whatever, weird, and they just kept on walking. But now no one is just driving by this car wreck anymore. People have gotten out of their vehicles and they are like, we got to fix this. We got to get these cars. We got to get the doors open. It's on fire. We got to get these people out. We got to get these children out of the back seat that are stuck in their thing. And that's what's happening. And it's makes me so grateful to be here in this time right now, to have survived everything that we survived, to be able to say our truth and to get help from my friends, obviously, but also from like complete strangers around the world who are just like, this is not okay. This
comment right here, seeing the old protest videos was extremely sad. Nobody was talking about the children.
Mm-mm.
The reason that they got away with abusing us the way they did is because nobody was talking about the children inside or outside.
Because we weren't kids.
Correct. But it's like, even when the Lisa McPherson thing happened and whatever, it's like the children's issues have always been pushed down or pretended that, oh, well, it did used to be really weird before, but oh, it's fine now. It's fine now. Oh, no, that's not that anymore. Oh, there's no cadet orcs anymore. Oh, no. Again, kids get audited. Kids get sent to ethics and kids get groomed in courses. As long as those three things are happening, there's nothing about our abuse that has been watered down.
Correct.
So, and kids are of all ages available for their parents to be doing that to them. So yes, maybe they're not in the roach infested motel that Debbie Cook used to run for herself. They do get smart about optics. They're always very pressed. Oh, those optics are, getting us in trouble. Okay, then get rid of the kids. But it doesn't mean that there's kids all in Scientology families being abused, being told, oh, you really need to do a purif. Oh, you're really out of valence. Oh, you're really in a condition of treason. You're in a betrayal here as a 9-year-old being locked up, being told to come up with how the hell are they a 9-year-old betrayal of the group and asking for, please accept me back into the group because of all these sadistic, disgusting, unthinkable, and indefensible things that our parents were doing with a straight face, pretending that abusing a child is going to save a world. Scientology parents, the cat is out of the bag. You're saving nobody. You're doing nothing.
Yeah.
You're doing nothing except wasting your time and carrying out a felony on a child every time you lock them up against their will. Go double check on kidnapping. Go double check on Ruby Frankie. Go double check what she was calling it while she was abusing her kids. And she had a therapist to be telling her to do that. And guess how that worked out for her? Turns out that the courts do not recognize the fact that L. Ron Hubbard and David Miscavige told you to commit a felony. It doesn't matter if someone tells you to commit it. If you did it, you now have to go and face that music. You broke the law. You're not above it. You're thinking L. Ron Hubbard is going to put you above the law? You couldn't be more stupid or idiotic.
He threw his own wife under the bus.
Why the hell are you listening to a convicted felon?
Yeah.
Why? Why is the source of your decisions a convicted felon? In what world was that going to work out? And I mean, that's what I'm saying, Nora. It's like, I'm sorry, but it's like, it's not like, oh, we wish you really escaped. I mean, it's like, if there's a gang that is a child trafficking ring, I hope that people are not just going outside and, oh, I hope you really do stop abusing kids. Because that's all we're getting right now. Oh, Odo, I hope you really, do change and we're going to have a lot of muffins here for you when you get out. Well, you know what? No. You're abusing kids. You're part of a child trafficking ring, Odo. You would know it. You get told every time a child is abused inside of those disgusting commercial buildings. So in what world are you saving a world? By being complicit in racketeering felonies.
Yeah.
I mean, you know this, Nora. They showed them the tape. Oh, here, look, here's the tape. These confessions are video recorded and passed around between executives. Where's the plausible deniability? Where's the, oh, I didn't know. Oh, they did that there. Oh, I had no idea. No. The whole thing was become completely and utterly complicit, know everything, have no boundaries, erode all common sense, follow whatever L. Ron Hubbard said blindly. And then all of them are what? In a racketeering child ring conspiracy. That's what it's called. All Scientology parents are part of it. We have a racketeering child trafficking conspiracy like no other. Usually child traffickers go and get kids that no one's going to miss. That's how usually child trafficking works. You know what? Here it was, oh, get the parent to child traffic the child. Get our parents to say, oh yeah, by all means, have your way with my child. You know, we're all saving a world here, right? Right. And that's called mutual outrude, Scientology parents, in case you need to be spoken to in those terms. Let's clear that term again. Mutual outroots means y'all did the same felony and you became blinded by the fact that you all agreed that that was very normal. Today is the day to start thinking, you know what? Maybe it wasn't that normal. Maybe what Serge is saying is actually what in the hell I should be taking responsibility for, to really elevate my ethics conditions, because your ethics conditions, Scientology parents, you're all below confusion. You're in a state of delusion. So get out of that condition of delusion that you're not a racketeer, delusion that you didn't put your child in harm's way, all full knowing. If you really want to say that you didn't know, guess what? We grew up and we know that you know. So playing dumb on the aftermath of it all is going to get you nowhere. Yeah. Because the fact that you play dumb is the exact reason there's still children being abused today. So that's on y'all that are silent to repudiate anything, that are silent to, you know, get your ethics actually in, confront what your actual overts are. Stop giving away your paperclip withholds. All Scientology parents know exactly what in the hell that means. Is the paperclip withholds are the small little things that they want to talk about to pretend they're coming clean, all the while hiding what they did. Because you know what? It's not convenient. It's not going to be convenient to find out that you were induced to become a child trafficker. Maybe you didn't want to. Maybe you thought you were going to be saving a world. Well, guess what? L. Ron Hubbard had other plans for you, and so did his sycophant proteges at the very top of the pyramid scheme. Yeah. Because everybody knew. Everybody knew. That's the problem here. Nobody doesn't know. They all knew. They all knew everything. So now what?
There's no way people didn't know. I mean, it started with Hubbard too, because he surrounded himself with young children who were his messengers. And that tradition has continued to this day. And Scientology parents, even if they balk at recruitment of their children, it's still, for them, they have to, you know, accept it and know that it's an honor that their kid is at such and such post in the Sea Org. And then that's a bragging point for them, and also helps further their status within the church. It's all mutual, as you put it so eloquently, circle jerking each other, where they are benefiting from the enslavement of their own child in some cases, especially if their kid goes to, you know, the international level or the ship or celebrity center, somewhere posh, flag, something like that, because then they are then elevated. Oh, well, my kid is a blah, 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 blah. You know, it's like the way people whose kids are doctors. They're like, well, my kid is a brain surgeon. Well, my kid is, you know, and it's like this whole, like, you know, leveling up off. And it's really, you know, disgusting, because there isn't a point where Scientology stops asking you for something, right? There's no like, well, I've given $100,000 and I've gone in, 10,000 days and now complete. Like there's no, you know, like there's always more, there's always the next thing. And it's the same thing when you're a kid. You're always being told how you have to elevate to this adult level to be OT, as they put it in Scientology, to be this operating Thetan. No matter what's happening to you, you have to rise above and be this, you know, immortal being that just happens to be driving a toddler body. And that's, that's your problem. You're just PTS to life at that point, and you have to get your shit together. And there's no being a kid, in most Scientology families. You're getting ethics put in on you as a baby and other things,
And that's what we're sounding the alarm code red. And that's what people don't actually confront.
No.
And we know that. And that's why these conversations are being had. And even like how Fun and Funky says, oh my, Serge is lovely, but never has a positive message in my opinion. I mean, Fun and Funky, we're not here to have positive anything. Child abuse at an industrial size scale is not a positive experience. We're sounding the alarm code red.
Yeah.
Children are being abused as we speak. Are we a little pressed about it? Yeah, we are a little pressed.
Yes.
And we would argue, why in the hell are other people not pressed? Because that's really the question. Like, in what world are we the only ones pressed? In what world are we the only ones disgusted beyond, nauseated, having to have these disgusting conversations? In what world does anyone think this is a fun thing to be doing? But it is raising awareness. It is actually getting to the facts, and the facts need to be exposed on their face. And we do need to get to what is the devil's in the details, not in the glib pitches that we've been getting for the past how many decades from Mike Rinder. Always telling part of a withhold, but not the rest. Always misdirecting the auditor. Always telling a half-truth. Always telling a non-truth. Always telling, a short story that he concocts. To what?
Right.
Shape public opinion, as if he wasn't the literal pro bono publicist of L. Ron Hubbard. So who normalized L. Ron Hubbard for everyone, Mike Rinder? You were his publicist. In what world do you want to have a positive conversation about the fact that you were his pro bono publicist? You're the one that said he was a great man and did all the PR so that everybody got that idea that he was. Well, you know what? You spent a lot of time with him and you told us how deranged he was. So in what world did you miss that? Because you don't come across like an idiot. So you know what? Maybe you did see it and maybe you still didn't give an F because you were thirsty to get unfettered access to kids, which is what you ended up getting by the 501c that you did acquire from the IRS. So yeah, let's all be very positive about what? The fact that all these kids have been child trafficked, that nobody gives an F. The fact that the LAPD shows up to arrest the protesters. Let's be positive about that.
I still don't understand that, but it's such nonsense. And like, it's just aggravating. What's aggravating to me is that we should, as just taxpayers, right? Because we actually pay taxes, unlike the cult, we should be able to count on the police to do their job, which is to serve and protect. But, it is apparent that they are there to serve and protect that property, which is part of Scientology's real estate scam, that they are getting tax-free, and not the people who are raising this code red, raising the alarm, saying, hey, there's crimes going on right here, officer, crimes. And you want to talk to me about, sidewalk chalk or sitting down in this chair and letting people know, letting the broad public know there's crimes going on. Like, that doesn't even make sense to me. It doesn't even make sense.
I mean, here from Blue Nona, I only went into a small COS 5 or 6 times. I saw a 14-year-old child going in for auditing. I mean, this was the norm, you guys, and I appreciate you, Blue Nona, and that's what we're asking for. We're asking for everyone to come forward with what they know, and it's not going to be pretty. It's not a pretty story. It's not a positive story. It's a disgusting, nauseating story.
Yeah,
I mean, the level, the magnitude, the orders of magnitudes of underage kids that were exposed to this. We know now how long has it taken us to figure it out, how broken we have to be to understand how betrayed we all were. And yes, it's going to be impossible for some of us to reconcile with our parents who are unindicted felons, who never cared for us. And how many examples of that did I see at the hotel? Many more than I can even possibly count. So given that it was a pretty widespread issue for whoever it doesn't apply to, great, congratulations. If that wasn't your experience, that's wonderful. Plenty of kids had their entire childhood stolen. And that's what we're calling out, because you know what? We don't want for more of that disgusting bullshit to still be happening. And we can only speak with the things that we wish somebody would have been saying when we were there. Knowing how smart they are, knowing how fast they play dumb on command.
Yeah.
They literally do drills to play dumb on command. So given that we understand the level of manipulator that we're facing at the hands of a Mike Rinder, at the hands of a David Miscavige, at the hands of a Marty Rathbun, at the hands of a Debbie Cook, at the hands of an Angie Trent, at the hands of an Supi Shea Gentry, at the hands of a Dave Pettit, all of these executives qualified and showed that they had what it took to be doing what the rest of what everyone else was doing. So given that that is the situation, that's the level of accountability that we are asking and requiring. Is Mike Rinder going to be very happy about that? I'm sure he's not. But you know what? His happiness is not our concern. It's the fact that other kids are being abused as we speak because he hasn't done shit to stop it. Yeah. So perhaps start actually speaking to the facts, Mike Rinder, because perhaps you can stop it. Perhaps you can do something about it. Perhaps it can be more than just blabbing and, you know, literally sinking the hopes of any survivors that are trying to make this stop for others, believe it or not.
Yeah.
That's what we want. Believe it or not, that's all we care about.
100%. I just want to, I can't click on the comments. I was going to bring it up, but a little bit above here, there's a comment from Emma Robson. Do you see that? You got to scroll up a little bit. It's above menace.
Oh, yeah. Comment.
Yeah. So
go
ahead.
We spoke to a new Scientologist who said there are lots of kids in Kansas City org. I mean, again, you guys, you know, it is triggering. It's triggering because we know what those audits are. Do you see what I'm saying? And it's like for us, for our nervous system, like, yes, you know, my therapist understands that, you know, sometimes this work is not the best for my mental health because it does. It put us back in the matrix. It put us back in that disgusting, unthinkable power dynamic imbalance that we were stuck with as kids, being told that we were being helped when they were literally just doing the most disgusting things with us. And to even think, to even imagine that that's still happening, that there's another child there defenseless with those stupid ass baby cans in their hands being, you know, it's that part.
When you say stuff like that, Serge, I think of my own children having been, and by the way, they never touched Scientology, never touched any meter, never touched any of those books or anything. But just like picturing that happening to them brings up like just a fucking rage inside of me that that's what fuels me, guys, is because like I worked so hard having both my mom and my former mother-in-law, RIP, she's now passed, to both be talking to me about how to handle the kids with their upsets and how to do this and how to do that. And me just having to be in this situation at the time of like, thank you, but no thanks. And just like very, you know, I mean, my mother-in-law tried to buy lifetime memberships in the IAS for my two kids when the oldest was 4 and no, sorry, he was 3.5, and the youngest was like just a few months old. And so she was going to spend $7,000 because it was $3,500 at that time for a lifetime membership. She was going to spend $7,000 for 2 lifetime memberships. And I said to her, listen, I don't want my children to have a lifetime membership in anything because they are, I literally said to her, they're children. They can't consent to that. They don't have autonomy.
You were ahead of the curve.
Right? I know. I was just like, literally like, no, like I wouldn't want them to have a lifetime membership to Gold's Gym. You know what I mean? Or like anything, because they haven't decided if that's what they want. And we got into this weird debate. Like my mom, when I was growing up, she's like, you can choose Scientology or not. I won't be mad. My dad, on the other hand, was like a whole other bag of chips. But secretly, I know my mom wanted me to be a part of Scientology, but she presented it as like, you have a choice, right? And so she was fine with me I was like, Mom, I'm making it a choice for them, like to use her own words. And she was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. But then still was like, you should do a touch assist for that. They just banged their head. Like, make sure you do, be quiet, everybody. They're getting, they just got a thing, and I'm like, oh my God, like, I remember doing a touch assist with one of my kids, and I'm thinking to myself, I did one once, and with my oldest kid, because he had, like, he was a toddler, he was running around, he banged into the door jamb because he, couldn't judge where his body was. And I'm watching myself do this touch assist with my own child, going like, he doesn't understand what's happening. This is not helping. It's not making the injury less. Like, I'm just traumatizing him, making him like, okay, now touch it back, touch it again. I'm like, this is so, like, I just snapped out of it. I was like, no, like, we're not going to recreate an injury for whatever this stupid thing is. So it's just like, you can't, it automatically happens, those guys, like this reconditioning when you leave, even though you're like, oh, Scientology almost killed me, the RPF almost killed me, and all this stuff. It's still ingrained in there. It took me witnessing it in real time to go like, oh my God, this is harmful. My kid is not wanting this.
Well, and I would argue again, you guys, that the reason that we are so direct and blunt to the point with what we're sounding the alarm on is that is the only way to wake these people up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They're not going to be told, oh, would you like to come here? Would you like to come there? No, they need to be told what they're doing in no uncertain terms. They've been goo-goo gagaed for far too long. Oh, you think you're saving our world? And okay, let me not care. But again, if they would just be carding everyone at the door 21 and up, then yes, who literally cares?
No.
Don't
I want to
ensnare
answer
us with that problem.
Dana, can you pull that up? Dana Fofana. It's up a little bit. She has some good questions. What can we do?
I want to answer this one here too. Do parents get a price break on their services if their kid goes into the Sea Org?
No.
But they get child rates, you guys. So when my parents were paying for things to do with me, there was an incentive because they were calling the child rate. So they got an extra 15% off or something for the thing. So I just wanted to mention that there, that they had special child rates, so they would incentivize for parents to be paying for this disgusting courses.
Yeah, for kids.
Where's that one you said?
It's up a little bit. It's above Kiwi Girl Eleanor and that kitchen witch Suzanne. So it's Dana Fofana, and it's right below Ramon's Girl 1.
Can you read it?
I'll read it. So Dana Fofana asks, what can we do? Boosting the message, writing letters, making calls to who? And thanks for any and all direction you can give us. So the number one thing I want to say is, if you're not inclined to go out and protest yourself, support the protesters. And supporting the protesters is super easy to do. You subscribe, you like their content when it comes out, put some comments on there. That boosts the algorithm. Like, I understand there's like 20 channels live streaming all the time protesting. But if you can just do those simple things, if you're like, I can't go protest. The second thing you can do, that's boosting the message. Writing letters. Yes, please write to every single level of your government that you have access or can think of to write to, from your council members to your mayor to your representative for Congress to your senator to the president of the United States. Like we were talking about earlier, CC everybody. Write to everybody. Write to your local news stations. Write to the paper. Write to Oprah. Write to whomever you feel has a platform that's going to talk about this. You can call also your local representatives. Okay. And the other thing I would say is, if you want to give your time or things like that in volunteering to help people who are exiting via the foundation and things like that, you can also sign up at the sptvfoundation.org to do that. All of these things contribute to getting the message out, okay, and making sure that what we're saying and what all the protesters are doing are reaching as many people as possible. I mean, it's reaching tens of thousands of people per day. But we want to make sure that, like, when you're a creator like we are, you can go in your back end and look at your analytics, and you can see where your audience is coming from. Are they coming from like repeat? Are they watching you over and over again? Are they brand new? What their age brackets are? You get the whole demographic breakdown. And what we're trying to do is, obviously, we love you guys. We love our audience. We love our members. We love, the people that are tuning into us every single day. We couldn't be able to do this without you guys, 100%. But we also need for new organic impressions to come in. And that comes in with like boosting the algorithm, right? So if this becomes a trending topic, kids can't consent, like hashtag kids can't consent becomes trending on Twitter. Every video that we have hashtagged with that, or every video that we've hashtagged with, Scientology or whatever, starts trending as well. It's all like creating this kind of like ripple domino effect to get the message out. So I would say, do you have any other suggestions, Serge, besides that?
No, I mean, I think, again, it's just a matter of getting the message out, understanding that we need child advocates. So anybody who wants to advocate for kids who don't have an advocate inside. And again, we're breaking it down to the nitty gritty so that it is understood why it's so important to have as many child advocates as possible. Because again, it's like we had a deficit of advocates in there. Our parents were fully compromised. All the adults were compromised by way of reading the rhetoric of a convicted felon. I mean, it put them all in a compromised situation. Whether they wanted to be there or not, they can sort that out for themselves with the FBI, by the way. That's where they can sort it out. They want to really come clean. They want to really show that they change. Go to the FBI and actually, get your overts off to the FBI where it counts, not inside of a hotel. Because all these Scientology parents have done is, and they know how to resolve the problem, you guys, because Scientology parents all know how to do what? OW write-ups. And what in the hell is an OW write-up? You write time, place, form, and event of every criminal act you committed. So Scientology parents, you're all invited to write your overts and your withholds, not inside of a hotel or commercial building, this time at the pleasure of your home. And then, go to a lawyer, put it in an affidavit, and turn it to the FBI. And tell them time, place, form, and event of any and all type of child felonies, including but not limited to aggravated child abuse, kidnapping kids, locking kids' passports, subjecting kids to unconscionable audits. Write it all down. Every single time you did it. We need every single time that it was done. That's the accountability that we need for the FBI to want to do something. Because apparently, if you don't spell it out for them, they will play dumb. So we need Scientology parents to actually open their eyes and open their minds and do the same technology that they applied at the hotel, but now apply that technology with the FBI. Take yourself there and say, hey, I'm here to cooperate with whatever criminal investigation we need to open, because there's kids that are being subjected to the exact same thing that I was subjecting my kids there to. And I couldn't be more disgusted or upset that I did that. So here you go, FBI. Here you go. Here's all the evidence. Here's all the boxes. Here's all the records that we kept. Because there's plenty of people with stuff. But again, none of them are cooperating. None of them are showing any initiative. None of them are protesting. None of them are doing anything. So if anything you can do is put pressure on the Scientology parents.
Yeah. Unlike the 1996 auditor amnesty that happened when the golden age of tech was released, Scientology invited previously trained auditors to come do what Serge's saying, write up their overts and withholds in regards to technology. All would be forgiven. And then they could start with a clean slate. The only reason they did that is because they wanted to justify reissuing the tech again and to show that all these auditors out here were criminal and that they were altering the tech, they weren't doing a good job, and to also make them, sublimate themselves and squash themselves and be like, it was me that wasn't making Scientology clear the planet. I'm a criminal. Now I'm going to learn the right way to do this, right? So unlike that, Scientologists who are listening, there will be no amnesty, okay? There will be no wipe the slate clean. You're going to have to face your demons. You're going to have to face the crimes that you were a part of, come clean, and face the consequences of your own actions. Because whether you do it willingly or you get found out later, because everything's written down, honey, will determine what actually happens to you. It's just like in a regular court of law. If you have committed crimes and you're part of an overall criminal organization, what happens to those people? They get a deal. They say, here's my truth. Look at Michael Cohen. He said a whole bunch of stuff and he still went to jail, guys. He still did some time, but he's out now. Why? Because he's cooperating.
And
okay?
he rehabilitated his image. I mean, look,
Yes.
he went from crooked lawyer to rehabilitate. His podcast called Mea Culpa. I mean,
Yeah.
Mike Rinder, take the note. Maybe you
Take
should be
the
having
note.
a podcast called Mea Culpa too. I mean, the great little change up your content creating strategy.
You know, just because you work with authorities and you tell things doesn't mean you are exempt from punishment. There's going to be repercussions. There's going to be accountability. All we're asking for is that you pony up, put on your big girl panties, okay, and say what needs to be said to the people who can make it all stop. And maybe they will have some mercy on you in the scope of the law, which is not up to us. Okay. We are not judge and jury. We are not, convicting anybody of anything here because we're not lawyers. We're not, we're not in a court of law, but we know you have crimes because
we were there, because we witnessed what we witnessed. You put us at the front row of this dysfunction. So don't ask us to now have amnesia about it, because we're not having it. That's the problem with y'all. We are not having amnesia. We couldn't be more disgusted. We couldn't be more literally nauseated is what it is. And I think this is a very good question from April Robinson.
Yeah.
Do you think the reason they're not coming out is because they don't want the consequences of the law? Just exactly what Nora said here. We are not the law.
Nope.
We were there, put us children to witness disgusting, unthinkable things. Yes, we're disgusted with it. Yes, we're coming forward. We're raising awareness so that it stops. But for any of them to project that we are the bad ones now because we're calling it out, that's crazy. And number two is, like Nora said, the law, the FBI, all these people know how justice works. They would put it into a balance. And the more they help, the more they could get a better deal. So we're not here after getting this done or that done. That's not our job. We've done enough of the heavy lifting already. We don't want that job. But we do want this stop. We need this to stop. So we will bypass them as much as we need to. If they won't come clean, guess what? We will come clean for them. If they won't say what they were doing, guess what? We will expose what in the hell they were doing. And the less they keep their mouths shut, the less they keep exposing what in the hell they've done, the more it'll become evident that they're not getting their ethics anywhere in. They leave the hotels and all of a sudden, ethics doesn't matter, doesn't apply to me anymore. I'm just a victim now. Guess what? No. Ethics is applicable more than ever, but not inside of a hotel. So the venue has changed from a hotel to the FBI. That's where you need to be.
Correct.
Crimes Against Children Unit. That is where in the hell all Scientology parents need to take themselves. Exes and current.
Correct.
If you come to your senses, I'm sure that the FBI is going to be going more lenient on you. If you don't come to your senses, if you keep justifying aggravated child abuse a la Ruby Frankie on steroids, guess what? When the facts are exposed for what they are, all Scientology parents are going to be behind bars, serving lengthy sentences. This is not going to be Ghislaine Maxwell, only she got charged. Because again, here's the Scientology parents putting their kids in harm's way. And the courts are not going to forever play dumb and tell us, aggravated child abuse, that is a felony, kidnapping, that is a felony, locking up your passport, that is a felony, essaying you as a minor, that is a felony. Oh no, it's a religious experience. We can't have a critical thinking skill for ourselves. Given that other kids are going through this right now, that is not an option. So all the courts that haven't done their due diligence, for all the courts that have been gaslit by crooked attorneys that Scientology hires to lie their asses off because they don't know who in the hell L. Ron Hubbard is, stop relying on bullshit statements from attorneys that don't know who in the hell L. Ron Hubbard is. How in the hell are they defending somebody they don't even know what an audit is? How stupid can these attorneys be?
Yeah. No, they're turning a blind eye. I want to bring up two comments here. One is from Corn Freak, It's above, it's back a bit, but it says, did you see that sick Scientology woman in Chicago? I'm asking her if she asks kids sexually explicit questions and calling her a child abuser, and she just smiles like a maniac. That, guy's like what I was saying about the face and like what you become. That is her. Thank you, Serge. That is her applying Scientology and confronting you as a suppressive corn freak, so that she is literally trying to intend you to like just die and move away and just, you know, be gone, blow away with the wind. And you saw this also in like Mark Bunker's footage that he and I went over, right? Where that guy is just staring at Mark. Just like there's moments where the guy's quiet, he's not saying anything, he's just like just trying to stare into Mark's soul. That is what Scientologists call confront. Just like this weird, like you're trying, as if you're trying to put like beams coming out of your body to like, you know, literally, you know, delete someone from the universe, right? And thank you for doing that, Corn Freak, by the way, for being in their face and saying facts to this woman, because she is, that maniac smile that she had on her face, that's her trying not to fucking freak out, because what you said is very true.
Yeah, they're just deflecting. They deflect. They, you know, they get told to act bored, like they don't care. I mean, I confronted that lady, you know, that was eating outside of the org yesterday, and her whole thing was to be, you know, supposedly very bored about what we're saying. But again, it's like they've never been confronted with being child traffickers or abusers. They've never been told that to their face, because they've been cradled and canoodled, and everybody's, oh, they're just practicing a religion. Once again, for the people in the back, convicted felons are not gods. So whoever is going with that pitch, we're calling it out so that, you know, it doesn't just get repeated. Like raise your critical thinking skills, like raise your confrontive evil. All Scientology parents, you're invited to do that. You're welcome. We're doing this because we care. We're doing this because it needs to stop. Yeah. So stop projecting that we're the ones with the problem. We are the ones with the problem because our childhoods are gone. But you know what? Who cares? The ones that are having more of a problem are the kids that are exposed as we speak. And we still see examples of that in Elena Cardone and Grant Cardone's girls.
Exactly.
Not going to school, being told to do courses, being used as public speakers, 10X kids. Like no.
It's disgusting. Also, this is a really good question, and I can partially answer it from Lauren, which is below that Corn Freak one that we just pulled up. Who does Scientology bank with? How is work payment received by Sea Org logistically? So from my experience at Celebrity Center, they don't bank with the big banks like Bank of America, Chase, and things like that, because they burned too many bridges with them with a lot of weird stuff. But they were banking with a bank that got taken over by another bank. Like they bank with smaller banks that they can, you know, like manipulate and get a lot of like loopholes and get a lot of cash out of and things like that, because all Sea Org members are paid in cash. You go for lines hours on payday, which is Friday, and you go down to the Treasury Department, which is usually somewhere in the basement because they're never on the first floor. They're just basement people. And they print out a little invoice weekly with your name, your social, your, you know, and they take taxes out of your pay. So if you're getting full pay, which is $50 a week, you'll get $47.32, and they will tape the change on the back of the invoice. So you get exact change for your thing. Now, as we learned from Mike Brown and Rosemary, they've actually encouraged Sea Org members to get bank accounts at these local branches so that they can direct deposit the pay now for Sea Org members. However, that's also so that they have complete control over every Sea Org member's bank account. Because who's creating the passwords? Who's doing all the things? Who can take that ATM card from you at any moment? The ethics officer, your CO, security, all of those things. And as we also learned from Rosemary, this is how they then take out these false lines of credit in people's names, the elderly and the children, at the same time, committing identity fraud and more tax evasion to just, you know, pump that money that they then, put on credit cards and max out into their own church. It's just a money laundering scam. And they had to stop banking with Chase because if you remember years ago, there was a big expose about them running up these false credit lines at Chase Bank in particular. So they target smaller banks that they can do this at and manipulate with the we're religion, and all that kind of BS. So yeah. But if you see a Sea Org member in a bank, that's where they're banking. If you see a staff member at that bank, that's where the whole org is banking, because Scientologists are not allowed to do anything independently. If Tom Cruise dyed his hair red, as an example, all Scientologists would dye their hair red because that's what they do. They're not independent. It's like an ant swarm.
Scientology hurts us all and needs to be stopped. I know this truth. I lived all my life with Scientology parents. Today, it is horrible.
I'm so sorry. Hi, Miriam. No, guys, if you need any motivation, if you just think Serge and I are just, talking out our booty hole about these things, please go visit Miriam's page, Rage Against the Dark Arts. Please find out that not only was she abused inside the church as a child, but now as an adult human who's also a mother, she is being further abused by former members of the church, Mike Rinder, who is trying to prevent her from using the abuse that happened to her to get justice for herself and for the other kids inside there. That's how diabolical Scientology is they're trying to prevent people like Miriam and the Jane Does from getting justice from Scientology. The IRS needs Mike Rinder, Marty Rathbun to go to head IRS and tell them what they did or hired others to do. Tax exempt status is what will break them and get kids out to CPS, though, is horrible for kids too. Yeah. I don't disagree. Our foster care system and stuff in this country is horrific. However, we still have to get these kids out of there. Hopefully, for these kids, they have other relatives that aren't Scientologists.
Well, and that's why it gives everyone an action item to do. What are we trying to stop? Children being audited, handled in ethics, and groomed in courses. That's the first thing to stop. I'm not here to tell someone where to put their kids or this or that. It's we need to stop those practices. Those practices need to be stopped. That's something we don't need a single shred of judge or court to tell us to do. That can be done immediately by all Scientology parents banding together and literally seeing the writing on the literal wall and be like, what in the hell did you all do? Stop it right the F now. Get every 21 and under out of there. Make everything carded at the door. No one gets inside these hotels anymore if they're not 21.
Yeah.
That's the baseline. Then after that, if they're doing racketeering and money laundering and everything else, well, you know what? Nothing needs to be up. Yeah. Because again, racketeering cannot be condoned.
Yeah. There's another question. Does Scientology then take the taxes out of that pay and send it to the appropriate agency, or do they keep it, which gives them evidence? As far as I know, and the only evidence I have of this is what the Social Security used to send me when I was on the RPF, is that they do send that into Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, all that stuff, because I used to get a notice mailed to me while I was on the RPF. If you retire today, Nora, you will get $249 per month for Social Security because you guys, I didn't file taxes the whole time I was in the Sea Org because I was making less than $2,000 per year, not per week, not per month, per year. Less than you guys, when you're on the RPF, which I was on for almost 3 years, you're making $12.50 a week, and taxes get taken out of that, so you get $11.42. $11.42 a week, guys, a week. Okay, I just want to think, all the parents out there, I want you to think really hard. If you gave your child $11.42, could they even buy a boba? Could they even they can't even get to a movie theater for that now. And that's still the standard pay. They haven't changed their pay. They're not paying a living wage, guys. And that wouldn't even be a thing. Scientology is paying a living wage now. It's all fine. No, It doesn't matter what improvements they try to do. There is no benefit to Scientology. No one gets better. No one is free. No one is doing anything positive with Scientology. It does not actually do anything to help anyone. It only harms. And that's why it has to end. At what ages do children become interviewers, Serge? What age were you?
I mean, 12. I was 12, but I mean, there's plenty of other.
I trained kids who were 8.
Yeah.
9, 10. Guys, people put their kids on these courses for summer break. Thank you, Miss Otter, for gifting 5 memberships. That's amazing. But people, this is summer camp. When their kids are out of school, they send them to the orgs to do this training because it keeps them busy all day.
Yeah. Facing uncomfortable truths is how change happens. 100%.
Yes. Yes, when Reese and Aaron did their Real Housewives of Scientology and read Facebook posts of moms over the moon about their kids auditing, current day, not history. Correct. They brag about it on social media right now. They're excited when their kids get recruited into the Sea Org. It's an announcement, breaking news. Yeah. No, it's gross. Are you going through the super chats now?
Yeah, just went through them. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you guys. Well, I mean, I think that in closing, we need accountability to happen. We need accountability to take place. We need all Scientology parents to come to their senses. They need to all wake the F up. They all need to be, literally dosed with a bucket of cold ice. They literally need to be shocked into reality and come out of that cognitive distortion field that they're in. Because again, neither L. Ron Hubbard nor any of his proteges had their best interest for them. And yes, it's all dangerous to anyone that's getting involved in it. Most dangerous to kids. So we have a burning hotel. And guess what? The kids have a much lower chance of being able to escape or fend for themselves. Given that kids are the most vulnerable, those are the ones that need to be gotten out. That's the most important thing to advocate for right now. Once all audits, all ethics handlings, and all courses stop being delivered on kids, once those Scientology parents, the current ones, get the message, David Miscavige, start doing your next briefing. Oh, you guys, breaking news. We're not going to audit kids. We're not going to give ethics handlings to kids. And we're not going to do courses on kids because it's indefensible and disgusting what in the hell we're doing. We're all a bunch of pathetic, out-ethic MFers. So now that we're finding out that, start with that briefing, David Miscavige. Start blabbing your mouth on something that matters. Not bullshit about how you open this and you open that. How many kids do you have ensnared in hotels today? Get your current CEO, OSA, to fly you up the little stats. Because you know what? You keep the statistics. And that's the other reason that none of these Scientology parents or executives can say that they didn't know. They were quantifying the type of criminal activity they were doing. They were putting on a graph. Oh, we just abducted 10 kids here. Oh, here, let's put it on a graph. Let's really get bonuses based on how many kids we trafficked. Given that that's a fact, Mike Rinder, you're nothing but a child trafficker.
Yeah.
A glorified child trafficker. Unfettered access to kids, and your office was locking up our passports. In what world do you want to be respected if you are Ghislaine Maxwell on steroids, Mike Rinder? You've had so many decades to actually get this on the rails. And all you've done is put it more and more and more off the rails. If you are not paid opposition, then you're a pro bono opposition. And I guess that's even more pathetic. That's a lower level down. Pro bono opposition. Oh, let me just do this pro bono. I mean, you didn't sign up to be
that's what that
pro bono, huh?
Yeah, that means he likes it. It's not even because he's getting.
I mean, you're doing it because you love it. I mean, then you're not doing any charitable thing as kids continue to be what? Audited? What? Handled with ethics? What? given disgusting courses. Where's your advocacy for that? Nowhere. Where's your repudiation for that? Nowhere. Your whole public record speaks for its literal self. So you couldn't be more part of the problem. And here you are pitching yourself as part of the solution while you derail everything. How stupid do you think we are?
Yeah. No. Guys, I think just in closing, I just want to say, whatever you can do as an individual, do that. Whether it's boosting the algorithm for the protesters, sending them supplies that they need to protest. Thank you to everybody who sent me these supplies for the homeless here in Portland. I'm just waiting on a couple more things that are like my Amazon packages are starting to arrive again today. But this is what happens, is that now we are out here crusading to talk about the kids. And, I'm going to be out there showing them, like, this is how you give real help, guys, because we never did that inside the church. And now I have this opportunity to do real help back, to the people in the community that are surrounding this particular Church of Scientology here in Portland. And they're not going to have much to clap back about because they've never done that. They handed out way to happiness and got rid of homelessness in Portland. As any Portlandier can tell you, that is not facts. We still have a lot of homeless people here, and they are not doing any better because they got a fucking way to happiness. Hopefully they wiped their butt with it and used it as toilet paper because they need that too. But we're going to keep this going. We're going to keep putting this in the forefront, that Scientology is a child trafficking cult, and people who want to be a part of that are going to have to wear that as a badge of honor. They're going to have to own that they are child traffickers, and that's okay with them. And the more that we can just put that out there and keep repeating that message, that is how these guys are going to come down, because it will just...
It's called popping their delusion, you guys.
We need to be in their face.
Delusion. You have to call it what it is. It's trafficking. We were trafficked across state lines. We were trafficked across countries. The work that we were being put to do is unthinkable, disgusting, unconscionable, indefensible. We're sounding the alarm code red. No child should be involved in this. It's time to pack it the hell up. All of it.
Yeah.
It just needs to be shut off. It's helping nobody. And again, it's because all the kids that are having these things done on them today, they are at risk. And we do know how much it hurts, and we do know how much we were disgusted that we were being audited as kids, but we didn't have a choice. And we understand how that feels now, understanding now that we do have power, that we are adults in adult bodies, that we do see that there's a big difference between now and when we were 12, even though at the time we were seduced. They were doing us a solid, the adults. That's how they pitched it, you guys. That's why it's predatory. Yeah. Imagine adults that pitch to, preteen kids that they're going to be adults. How easy can it be for these MFers to manipulate kids to, oh no, you're just like an adult. You're just like all about. Helping. I mean, we thought they were doing us a solid. We thought, oh, look how special we are. But it turned out that it was part of their grooming, disgusting practice. And that's why all Scientology parents are guilty of the same. Don't think you're a better Scientology parent. There doesn't exist one. If you were a Scientology parent, there's only one class, Scientology parent. And all of you did the same thing at an industrial size scale. It took the agreement of all of you to land with all kids inside these hotels and commercial buildings having unfeathered access by randoms. So start literally connecting the dots, because we couldn't be more nauseated and we couldn't be more having to spell it out for you in complete ways that you can't play dumb anymore, because that's what it's called. Don't play dumb. It's not benefiting anybody. It's the year 2024 and nothing has changed. To Rain L. Ron Hubbard, the convicted felon that was floating around with Shelley Miscavige at 12 years old, the child trafficking is alive and well, as if it wasn't literally the inception of this disgusting racketeering scheme. L. Ron Hubbard wanted to child traffic kids with full impunity and no guardrails. Well, you know what? He accomplished it. And you know what? He's had plenty Those sycophants doing his bidding even after he was dead. And if you were one of those sycophants, go talk to the FBI. Spend your time doing something useful. Stop being pathetic is what you're being asked to do. Stop being pathetic. Stop condoning it. Stop being complicit in felonies and racketeering.
Yeah, 100%. And I just want to say to literally, Lisa, I put my email in the chat if you want to reach out. And Serge, your email is on your page, is it?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yes. So our emails, my email's on my page. My email's in the description. My PO box is in the description. Please do contact us. I'm not going to speak for Serge, but I really try to get back to people who email me. You know, and thank you, Miriam, for everything you're doing. Because if you guys haven't watched Miriam's breakdowns of like the OSA files and other things, please go get the education that Miriam is providing with her lengthy CVS style receipts. It is a beautiful, beautiful thing to watch because she's amazing and strength personified. I love you, Miriam. And, you know, I hopefully, and thank you for that. I try to do my best to, you know, speak out for you to, you know, amplify your voice because it's so important. It's so important. What you survived and what you're trying to get justice for is, you know, paramount. It's exactly what we're talking about right now. And that if we could prevent that from occurring to any one of those kids inside there, because it will be covered up, it will be swept under the rug. The perpetrators will never go and get justice before a court of law. That's why we're doing this, guys, because there are crimes, illegal acts having been committed, and those people are still working. Those people are still inside those hotels working, and they are active predators, active criminals, and we have to get those kids out of there. Okay. Because it's just, those are the facts. They are not safe, you know, even not safe from Scientology, and they're not safe from actual child sexual predators that are still running rampant at every level of Scientology. So if you don't care about Scientology as a religion, you're just like, whatever, it's kooky, people can believe what they want. There are unindicted sexual predators, you know, they're just having free reign to children right now. And that has to stop. So if you can get behind something, let's get behind that, actual crimes.
Yeah, and before the people at OSA go, oh yeah, but we really do give them ethics handlings. Ethics handlings are not anything. You couldn't be more stupid or pathetic to think that a 2-week course inside of a hotel is going to erode a felony perpetrated on a child. So
yeah.
Double check with your attorneys if it's okay for you all to be complicit in this level of felony. Double check with your attorney if it's really called a religious activity, if you video recorded and you ask disgusting, depraved, unthinkable questions that shouldn't be being asked of children.
Yeah.
And again, your technology to tell pedophiles that they were confused and that's why they developed an evil purpose couldn't be more disgusting. In what world are pedophiles being told that, oh, they were just a little confused because in another lifetime they suffered a confusion? I mean, again, it's like, how disgusting can any of this be? And how can it be being done with a straight face? That's really what we need to understand now in this year 2024. Yeah. Because again, sure, maybe at the time it made sense or whatever for all the people that are, you know, under the radar, whatever. Oh, it did make a lot of sense. Well, check if it makes sense today, because it needs to make sense today. 10 years ago, if it was still making sense to you, you know what? You are allowed to evolve. You are allowed to repudiate these disgusting things. Mm-hmm. They were written in a book. You did adopt them like an idiot. So face that.
Yeah.
That's all. That's all that's being asked. Face it and then do everything in your power to stop it. That's all that can be asked of any Scientology, anybody.
Boom.
That's all that's being asked. Face it. If you thought it was a great idea, it wasn't. It's that simple. You know what? It wasn't. It was disgusting. It was unthinkable. It's an industrial size scale child racketeering scheme that you were a paid contributor to. So it's not looking good for you. But do something about it to stop it, because that would be where the efforts should be getting spent. That's all. That's all that anyone can do. Prevent it. That's it. We don't control nothing else. Prevent it so it doesn't happen to another child. And yes, we're saying it over and over and over until it lands to the ears of all of these Scientology parents, and until we see actual ethics change in the physical universe, not blabbing, not pitches, not writing a lot of success stories about how wonderful you are. We don't give an F about writings anywhere. Show us that children are not being audited, handled with ethics, and being groomed through courses. Those three things. It's very, very simple. The ask. No one under 18. For sure, no one under 18. Not anybody. I mean, I don't know if it's a 21 and up thing. I say it is, but I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. And just one final thing here. Loves Wood Heat asks, how can we find out all the businesses that are Scientology related? I don't want any part of these. So they list them on their own website under WISE, World Institute of Scientology Enterprises, because they like to brag about how many businesses are using this technology. You can find them there. But as an example, if you know that somebody's a Scientologist, and I'll just take like Patrick Renna as an example, because he's a celebrity. He was in The Sandlot. He's also the owner of the one of the co-founders of the Los Feliz mission. And he's now trying to rebrand himself on TikTok as just like an adorable, millennial who's just hip with the times and doing the viral TikTok dances and stuff. But he is actively recruiting, he's actively recruiting children and young actors and everything else via that platform, his mission and things like that. So it is like these little fingers that are out there, because it's all interconnected, right? So inside Scientology, like in terms of the acting, you have, Gay Rabisi, who's the mom of Vonnie and Marissa, the twins, and Gina. But she's also the agent for many Scientology actors. Right. So she'll go out and she'll make friends with producers and other things who then, cast the Scientologists in things. Okay. So all of these things are interconnected. So if you see, for example, I wear Warby Parkers, right? And a lot of people were like, oh, Ashton Kutcher's involved with that. I didn't know Ashton Kutcher, but they also put out a new ad spread with Juliette Lewis in it. And I took them to task. I was like, hey, I've been a customer since you guys started. How dare you use this woman in your ad campaign without like proper vetting, knowing, and I laid it all out. And, so I put in a formal complaint to a company that I've given money to say, this is not okay with me. And if enough people do that with the things that we use, that we see, this person advertising, or that person has a sponsorship, or, whatever, you can vote with your money too. And if you go to like a dentist or a chiropractor and they have anything L. Ron Hubbard related in there somehow, that's a Scientologist. They're big on chiropractors and dentists. I don't know why, but they got a lot of them under their thumb. So you'll see it in the office and stuff. They'll have like things. So that's one way to look out for it.
Well, great. Thank you guys so much for joining us today in this journey of accountability. We have a lot more in store.
Yes.
So we will see you all extremely soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.